Kamsang Nabalenge. Here's your update on today's session of the Tibetan Parliament. Let's jump right in. Chaired by Honorable Speaker Kimbostam Tempela, the 8th and the final day of the 17th Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile's 10th session, general session, began at 9:30 with the continuation of deliberation by about 32 members of the Parliament in total on the Department of Information and International Relations. That's Chite Lehung's undertaking from the previous sitting. The deliberations in the House touched on varieties of issues, beginning with visa-related difficulties faced by Tibetans residing in Western countries when traveling to India. Many members praised the collective functioning of the department and its various bodies, including the Office of Tibet. Questions were raised about the current status of Office of Tibet in Russia, specifically whether its representative remains in post. The Tibet Policy Institute's work and its wide range of programs and events were also commended, though a handful of members called for further clarifications on certain matters. Chidekalo was asked whether the research papers and reports produced by Tibet Policy Institute's researchers are used as reference materials by Sikyong or Kaluns in their speeches and presentations. Members also commented the Tibet advocacy efforts carried out through the traveling exhibitions of Tibet Museum. However, some raised questions about the impact of relocating the museum to CTA Kanchi Kishon compound, noting that the earlier presence in McLeodganj had attracted many visitors. A few members even suggested that that the department consider establishing a new museum in McLeodganj, given the area's high visitor footfall. A few members urged the department and the Office of Tibet in Nepal to give special attention to resolving the documentation challenges faced by the Tibetans residing in Nepal. Additional inquiries were raised regarding the Minnesota Tibetan project, the Melbourne land sale plan, and the status of Belgium Tibetan Association. Members also highlighted the importance of Blue Book projects undertaken by the offices of Tibet in various countries, along with the advocacy initiatives that these offices are able to carry. Then some members of the House raised further queries on WeTag initiative around the world and also on the property matter of the Bureau in Delhi, and basically many more deliberations. So the session then proceeded on to the election of 2 additional election commissioners of the Tibetan Election Commission. Former parliamentarian Tsuyudla was elected as one of the additional election commissioners, securing 30 votes against Kamalekshila, who received 11 votes. At this point, Chitu Geshemulam Tachila intervened to remind the House of remind the Honorable Speaker of the precedent from 2005 when additional election commissioners were appointed by His Holiness. At that time, concerns were raised over their age being above 65, which eventually led to new appointments. So this issue resurfaced now as one of the present candidates is above 65 years of age, prompting a series of discussions in the Parliament. Reference was made to Article 99 of the Charters of Tibetans in Exile, which specifies an age cap for the chief election commissioner, but not for the additional election commissioner, while Article 7 of the Tibetan electoral rules clarifies that their tenure lasts only for the duration of the election. Following the debate, Honourable Speaker decided to postpone the matter until after lunch. So after lunch, the Parliament session reconvened with the continuation of the deliberations, during which Chide Kale Nonstomla addressed and clarified the concerns, recommendations and questions raised in the House on the department. Following the conclusion of discussions and on the Department of Information and International Relations, the Honourable Speaker referred to the Charter of the Tibetans in Exile and the Tibetan electoral rules, as well as the official record from 2005 when both the candidates had voluntarily resigned, leading to the appointment of a new additional election commissioners. He further noted that during the second session of the 15th Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile, the provisions concerning the age limit and the tenure of the additional election commissioners were repealed. So accordingly, he announced that the election of the second additional election commissioner would proceed. The House then convened the election of the second additional election commissioner, in which Nangsa Churala, a former secretary of CTA, was elected with 32 votes, while Dr. Kunja Chandrula received 11 votes. The session then proceeded with Sikum Pemba Sirla, the incumbent Kalu of the Department of Health, that's Tudin, presenting the department's concise annual report for 2024 to 2025. This was followed by the tabling of the standing committee's review of the department's detailed annual report. Subsequently, a motion for debate on the Department of Health's concise report and the Standing Committee's review was presented, after which clarifications were provided by Kasha. The general deliberation on all reports under the jurisdiction of the Department of Health began with commentation of the department, its staff, as well as the entire medical faculties working within the hospitals in Tibetan community. Requests were made to raise awareness on diabetes and other related illnesses in Tibetan monastic institutions, along with questions regarding the department's sanitation and water program. A number of queries were also raised on diverse issues, including the benefits of registering Menzikang under Ayush, measures to address substance abuse, and the facilities or reservations provided by CTA to persons with disabilities. Concerns were raised over the declining profit margin of Menzikang to Bempyug Menzikang, which has resulted in significant reduction in the contributions it is supposed to offer to Department of Finance. At the same time, many members acknowledged the extensive free medical services it continues to provide to the whole community and beyond. A question was also raised regarding lapses in management, specifically the case of Tibetan Amchi, who was not discouraged from opening a private clinic in close proximity to the main clinic in the capital city of India, despite the precedent of requiring other doctors in the past to establish their clinics at a greater distance. Such an instance has created a doubt in the minds of public, particularly because that Amji in question is daughter of one of my senior colleagues, who later resorted to personal and biased attack against me, a reaction that was in a way amusing, as it seemed to be his only means of handling the situation. Anyhow, let's get serious again. So the proposals were tabled for salary increases for the medical community and for granting paid maternity leave to contractual nurses as a basic right. While some members commented initiatives such as the New Mothers Program, distribution of maternity kits and stipends, and also the support provided to HIV patients, as well as the Zero TB initiative of Delhi Hospital. They also emphasized the need to further increase the stipends. There were varied opinions expressed on mental health, ranging from the view that it could be adequately addressed through Buddhist practices to calls for more diverse and inclusive mental health programs, as well as a specific attention to needs of young men who often silence themselves out of shame. The incumbent color of the Department of Health responded to the observations, the inquiries, and the recommendations raised to the House. The session proceeded with legislative procedures, third reading, and the adoption of the proposed amendments of the various rules and regulations mentioned in first the Charter of the Tibetans in Exile, secondly the Tibetan Code of Judiciary, thirdly Tibetan Code of Civil Procedure, fourth the rules of Central Council of Tibetan Medicine, fifth, rules and regulations for salaries and other allowances for the Supreme Justice Commissioner and the other Justice Commissioners. Number six, rules and regulation for salaries and other allowances of Sikyong and the Kalons. Hereafter, motions to extend the work of the Joint Committee of the Parliament and Kasha on the standardization of the Tibetan national flag and emblem, as well as the Parliamentary Committee assigned to compile His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's addresses on democracy and update the book on the evolution of Tibetan democracy in exile were unanimously approved. Finally, the Secretary General of the Tibetan Parliamentary Secretariat, Konstam Dojla, read out the leave of absence of the Parliament members, after which Kukutsotso Snam Tempela delivered his concluding remarks. So, in his concluding remarks, Kukutsotso informed the House of the various resolutions adopted during the session. These included the resolutions of gratitude to His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, the obituary references, the resolutions on the solidarity to critical situations inside Tibet, the legislative amendment procedures, 4 start questions, report from the departments of the CTA, the standing committee's review of the detailed departmental reports, the House participation in deliberations on the concise report of the departments, then Kasha's clarifications, and the election of the 2 additional election commissioners of the Election Commission. He further noted that the wide range of recommendations and the significant matters addressed in this House, which would serve as valuable guidance for the future functioning of the CTA and its autonomous bodies. In his concluding address, in accordance with the Charter, Konstam called for a collective effort in resolving the Tibet-China issue while taking into account the the interconnectedness of international developments, changes in China, and events unfolding inside occupied Tibet. He emphasized that while many social needs in exile may still be met through external assistance and aid, the question of Tibet must be pursued as a collective commitment under the leadership of Kasha, with the united resolve of the Tibetan parliamentarians and the general Tibetan public. Gomes also further reminded everyone of our duty to disseminate His Holiness the Dalai Lama's message of peace and compassionate world, stressing the responsibility of this generation to preserve that legacy, warning that if neglected, it could fade away. He noted that the flourishing of His Holiness's legacy is intrinsically linked with the strength of the Tibetan cause, and appealed to the Tibetan people that to uphold Chitu Sonam, that's collective merit, by actively working for Tibetan struggle. Finally, Gomes also reminded members of the House of the importance of maintaining proper conduct during the debates, cautioning against the use of inflammatory or offensive remarks, and making of false or baseless allegations in line with the rules and regulations of procedure and conduct of business of the Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile. He informed the House of the upcoming parliamentary programs in connection with the 90th birth year celebrations of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, which will include traveling exhibitions on His Holiness's legacy in Shimla, in the capital of the country, as well as various colleges in India, along with a collaborative initiative with All-Party Indian Parliamentary Forum for Tibet, APFT. He expressed gratitude to the entire Parliamentary Secretariat, to the Department of Security, the Department of Information and International Relations, particularly the Tibet TV team, and the electricians from the Department of Homes for their really valuable support and assistance during the entire session. With that, the session was adjourned Senadaya at around 7:40 p.m. This is it for the 10th session of the 17th Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile. We will be back together for the 11th session of the 17th Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile, which shall be the last session of the 17th Parliament. It was a grateful experience sharing my updates with all of you. I hope that in a way it helps you understand the days we spent in the Parliament, the deliberations that we try to focus on. I wish if I was able to include the responses and the answers that we are receiving from the Kasha, but I cannot possibly be just making way too long videos. I'm sure today is going to be a long day for you all to listen to. This is it for this session. I'll see you all in March. Let's say.